There you go.
Drum beats and guitar riffs to the World Wide Web, from one countryside to the next. It's an international love affair, and new music is our gift to the free world. Our freedom of expression is only limited by our creativity, so we stand together, and because of it, our voices are unlimited. We represent every corner of the world as we broadcast our message to every country, state, city, and town. Our supporters have expressed tremendous gratitude for taking the high road and giving them free music again.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome back, friends. I'm sorry for the long-winded intro. I busted my other pair of headphones right before coming live here. I got to get a headphone stand. I've seen these things. They hang off of the side of the desk. I always put them on the floor, and then I roll the chair and break them. But hey, it's good to have spares. So tonight, my friends, we will be talking about legendary aviator and conspiracy theorist John Lear, who passed away last week. Some of you know that I largely disagree with a great deal of Mr. Lear's conspiracy theories, but I do have a special place in my heart for him. I grew up listening to him tell stories about his days with Bob Lazar, his days chasing around Area 51, looking for those top secret flying saucers they were back engineering. John Lear has been a fixture in conspiracy land for decades, and with good reason. A lot of people do not realize, but before John Lear, most people didn't even know what Area 51 was or had ever heard of it. Some people credit Bob Lazar for popularizing Area 51. However, it was certainly John Lear who came first. John Lear, George Knapp, before striking gold in the form of Bob Lazar, did several television interviews with John Lear first. And in those interviews, John Lear talked about a back engineering program somewhere inside Area 51. And that they were attempting to back engineer these flying saucers, even mentioning that they had 9 of them. And isn't it a bit of a coincidence that Bob Lazar would later become his friend, and suddenly Bob Lazar was working at the exact place that John Lear had described, inside Area 51 and back engineering alien spacecraft. I grew up with that story, and seems like a great story. Years later, I would get a little more serious in my quest for whether some of this stuff is true or not, and I did some deep diving, and would come to no longer believe the story. But it doesn't change the story's prominence in my history or my sort of awakening process, maybe. Maybe there is value in misinformation and disinformation. Who knows? These are philosophical questions best answered by a smarter man than me. So I thought we would begin our journey remembering John Lear with one of his super early interviews with George Knapp. And this was on Las Vegas television, after all. George Knapp, another interesting character in conspiracy land, covered all kinds of mob stories and true crime and all kinds of things in and around sort of the seedy side of Las Vegas. But eventually, George Knapp discovered UFOs, and he even said he saw the views that it got and the ratings, and he was like, we got to get more stories about UFOs. And I both love him and respect him a little bit for that. At least I respect his his being so candid about, like, this UFOs, people really want to hear about it. Let's make more UFO shows. And this is interesting. I will find my fair use banner, and we are going to cite fair use, because believe it or not, these old interviews are still popular enough that they will get copyright stricken on YouTube, and they are monetized. People are critiquing, we are critiquing the video that we are sharing. We're educating the public. This is certainly covered under fair use, friends. So this is one of the earliest interviews that I could still find on YouTube. Unfortunately, many of his interviews were, I believe that he did a bunch of interviews with Kerry Cassidy, and I don't know that those are any longer available. If anybody has the Kerry Cassidy, John Lear interviews, please do email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Let me know if you have any of those. I'm still confused. Kerry Cassidy got thrown off of YouTube. Then she was back. I don't know if she's still back or if she put all the old videos back. I believe that she moved everything from her, back catalog to her paywall website, become a member site. But I could be in error on that. So this video is called Aliens Are Here and They're Not Our Friends, John Lear Says, Part 1. And again, this is George Knapp early interview of John Lear. Let's get into it, friends.
The one program. So my guest again this week is UFO researcher, former state Senate candidate, and award-winning pilot John Lear. Mr. Lear, nice to have you here again.
Always a pleasure to be here, George.
To begin with, we have this concept of the people from other planets as little green men. Are they green from what you know? Are they all the same, or we got different kinds of them?
George, there's at least 70 different species and probably more. But yes, as odd as it sounds, there are little green men. That's not the ones we usually see, though. We see the little gray ones. They're about 4.5 feet tall. We see the ones that are called the Nordics. They're about 7 feet tall, look like us, but they're invariably blonde hair and blue-eyed. They're one of the species that we have on ice. One of their crashes we recovered.
Obviously, with different species, they have different motives. I mean, are there good aliens and bad aliens from what you know?
I just wanted to interject. I have to do that every once in a while for fair use purposes as well as the purposes of our discussion. I was reviewing these early interviews earlier, and I was stricken by the amount of UFO mythology that John Lear speaks about in these short interviews, segments of them, really. This one's 8 minutes long. But I was stricken by the amount of UFO mythology, and I mean accepted UFO mythology, like things that people that believe in all of this stuff just accept. And here we have this description of different races, the Nordics, the gray aliens, the crashes. We've recovered some things. So, it reminded me that so many of these things go in cycles, right? This is 1987, thereabouts, and John Lear is saying this stuff, and here we're pretty far along in 2022, and people are still saying some of this stuff, but is repeating it, making it more accepted. It's just an interesting side note to me that these accepted UFO mythology just becomes part of religion for some people. Oh yeah, there's the Nordic. They look like us, blonde hair and beautiful, but they look like us. And then there's the grays and on and on.
Bad aliens and all kinds of ways and reasons for interacting with us.
And what are some of the reasons? Why would they be?
Genetic experiments, trying to... there's a misconception here. People think that our space brothers would bring us, good things and teach us how to get rid of all our diseases. And if you stop and think about it, that may not be the best thing, because if you had a society without any disease and everybody starts living 150 years, that creates a lot of problems. So they would not meddle in that way.
You believe, in part, that the movies E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, were not entirely just the creative products of some Hollywood director, that maybe there's more to that. Why don't you explain?
They were carefully guided by representatives from MJ-12, who is this organization that is in charge of the cover-up, in order to get us ready for the release of the information that there are indeed aliens. And
wow, so here we have a reference to what is now called predictive programming by some, or the belief that somehow things like science fiction movies are real in some form or designed to get us ready for the coming revelations. And again, this is 1987, and people are using this same talking point today. And, I haven't done extensive deep diving, but I think that John Lear was one of the first people to develop and use that talking point in various interviews. And again, here we have we're many years, decades after he was first saying it, and people are repeating that.
And in both those movies, they used small little creatures, and in order to get us ready for this release of information.
So to prepare us that the idea.
Oh, 1 second. I wanted to check in with the live chat because I forgot already. So pardon me. I want to remind everybody we're a viewer-supported show, and I saw a super chat. We read every single super chat or recognize and thank it. So thank you, Lee Guy, for a kind and generous $4.99 super chat. Longtime supporter of the show and huge fan of bacon. Thank you, Lee Guy, for your kindness, generosity, and support. So there's a few ways you can support the show, and those are listed in the description of this video. Otherwise, I would like to announce that we've now got memberships. When you go to our main channel here on YouTube, you'll see a join button, and you'll get some extra goodies for supporting the show. You get recognized in the live chat as being a supporter. What else do we do? Priority replies to the videos and more. All right, let's get back to this, friends.
Yeah, the benevolent aliens from outer space are going to help us out.
Unfortunately, they're not so benevolent. So they made probably one of the most disastrous mistakes when ET was put out. At that time was before we discovered what I call the double cross or the grand deception, and they were trying to get us used to the benevolent little creatures, but that isn't the case.
Why don't you take a couple of minutes? Now, you've done as much research on UFOs as just about anyone, I'd imagine. And if you haven't done it, you know people who have. Where did it all start, and how have we put this picture together of where they came from and why they're here?
Well, the whole thing started in July 2nd, 1947. That was the first crash.
First crash of an alien spaceship.
Of an alien spaceship.
And this, of course, he's referencing Roswell. But, one of the other things that struck me about this interview is that you got to I am too tough on George Knapp sometimes. I really am. And I like him, and I like his voice too. He's got a major, excellent radio voice, right? I don't even like some of the guests when he was hosting Coast to Coast that he had, but I would still listen. Anyway, here, George Knapp, remember, this is like 1987, and listen to how seriously George Knapp is taking this subject matter. At the time, UFOs and aliens were just something that the media in general just scoffed at. It was a joke. You laughed about it. Oh, aliens may be here. And people who talked about aliens and UFOs were largely just seen as kooks. So I have to give George Knapp a little bit of credit, more so than I usually do, because even so far back, George Knapp was super serious in this interview and asking good questions. I got to give it to him for that.
July 6th is when they recovered it and sent it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. July 7th is when they held the press conference and told the people it was a weather balloon, which the press bought hook, line, and sinker. September of that year, President Truman established MJ-12, and the purpose of that was to study the saucers and cover up the existence of UFOs.
And you say we recovered alien bodies from that incident, right?
4 from that particular crash, yes.
And what'd they do with them?
They autopsied them. Dr. Detlef Bronk was the chief surgeon, so to speak. He was the one that named them EBEs. It stands for extraterrestrial biological entities.
Again, listening to this stuff, I was stricken by how much stuff John Lear was talking about in 1987 that is just accepted UFO mythology, whether or not each of these things is true or not. It's just there's a general belief in these MJ-12 documents, in this MJ-12 group, in this crash retrieval at Roswell, bodies recovered. So we get to see sort of a deconstruction of maybe how some of these myths are built over time and through history. I've often noticed that it seems that, John Lear is a conspiracy land character called the Godfather of Conspiracy with good reason. But people would come after him and take these same or similar talking points and just add their bits to it. And this, my friends, may give us some insight into how the UFO mythology or mythos has grown over time.
and we captured 3 live EBEs. They were numbered in their order of capture: EBE1, EBE2, and EBE3.
Where did we capture? Where did this happen?
In different crashes. EBE1 lived with an Air Force colonel between 1949 and 1952. The EBEs are kept in an electromagnetic facility called a YY-2. It was designed by a Dr. Eric Wang, who worked directly for Dr. Kissinger, who has been in this cover-up since the very beginning. The reason they had to create an electromagnetic facility is the fact that the EBEs are so advanced. They're at least 500 million years advanced from us, and probably more. They can move by thought.
Yeah, well, this is also interesting to me is that John Lear was dropping names, and I have not fact-checked any of this, certainly. This is super old footage. I remember hearing this stuff ages ago. And also a point of interesting note is that when I was growing up, the conspiracy land information was hard to come by, and information about UFOs and aliens was kind of hard to come by. Pre-internet is when John Lear was running around saying a lot of this stuff. And so I remember there was FidoNet. This is pre-internet on bulletin board systems, but FidoNet would go all over the world and pick up packets of messages and information. And I would go on FidoNet trying to find John Lear, a transcript of like John Lear's latest interview or whatever. And it's kind of sad to me. I was thinking about that today. I wish that I had all those files today, right? Like some of that stuff is just going to be lost to history.
Move by thought.
And they can also disappear. But they can't move by thought through electromagnetic facilities. So they built this facility. There was 2, one in Los Alamos and one either at Edwards or up at the test site.
At Groom Lake, Nevada.
At Groom Lake. Now, there's still one EBE still living, EBE3, and there is a videotape that eventually is going to be released to the public, and it's an interview with him. As hard as that may sound, as hard as that may be to believe.
And interestingly, later would come the Alien Interview documentary, which I believe depicted a puppet, but, you know, it's interesting that he mentions here that there's still one alive, and there's going to be a release of an interview with them. And a few years later, the producer of Teen Wolf, the movie Teen Wolf of all people, somehow produces this documentary, which was not anywhere near as popular as the Alien Autopsy interview, but still a worthy, mention to that documentary. And we covered that here and how it was faked.
Videotape of an interview with EBE3.
And what is this language that the interviewers are?
I haven't seen the tape, so I don't know. But on this trip I told you I took gathering all this information, a guy in Albuquerque handed me 25 secret CIA memos. And if anything can be humorous in all of this, one of these memos, in the body of the text, it said, by the way, EBE3 wants to see the ocean. We better make the arrangements or he'll disappear again. So while he couldn't get out of this facility, he could make himself disappear and cause him a lot of trouble.
Can they exist among us? Is that what you're saying, or do they have to have a special environment?
They have special environment, special air. It's my understanding they can only last about 20 minutes in this air.
You were saying also these gray ones are the ones that we see most of the time, and you said that most of that there are a lot of different motives for them being here. The gray ones, what kind of a deal we got going with them? Is that the bunch that you suggest we've made a deal with for military technology?
Well, I think we made a deal with them, and their ultimate, what they want to do is regenerate their own race. Now,
and here, friends, listen carefully here, and remember again, this is 1987. I was sort of, just amused by what he says next here, because I can remember probably 5 different people who came after him running with this part of one of his talking points.
Apparently, they've either had some kind of nuclear accident, or they're on the backside of a evolutionary genetic curve, and they're going downhill instead of uphill. In other words, in the autopsies, of which I have 2, we found out that their digestive system is atrophied. They can't eat through their mouth anymore. You know how they eat? Well, these cattle mutilations, they take the hormones and the enzymes from those cattle and they spread it on their skin, and their skin absorbs the nutrients and then excretes the waste back through their skin. And if you read Whitley Strieber's book or listen to him talk, he talks about when he's seen them doing this to their skin, and they're scraping the waste off.
Now, these cattle mutilations, there's been a film made about that, and perhaps in a couple of minutes we can take a look at some excerpts of that.
So interesting. I can think of, let's see, Dan Burrish repeated this talking point and said that's how the aliens eat, and a few others, of course. But interesting. I'm always sort of amused when I find what I believe is the root of a particular part of the UFO mythology or mythos.
Yeah, Strange Harvest was a good one. But another thing that happened here on March 4th, there was a documentary released on the best UFO photos that have been taken so far, including 1 minute and 38 seconds of videotape. Now, what happened is in November, this guy took these photos, took it into the TV station. They thought it was great, but nobody would believe it. So they spent 3 months checking the validity of the, authenticating the videotape and checking out the credibility of the witness. And when they had it all down, they put out this documentary, 30 minutes. I mean, it's ironclad. They're here. But do you think it got on the net?
And I believe here he is referring to the Guardian tape, which was proven later to be a complete and total hoax. But, you know, again, he's talking in general terms about what was happening then in 1987 in the world of UFOs.
Is that working? No, it was just showed locally in Pensacola.
We have some of that, and perhaps when we come back, we can take a look at it. So stay with us for more of On the Record.
Well, that's interesting. All right, so that's one part there of our journey. All right, and I have another of the original John Lear interviews here. This one, he's talking about cattle mutilations and beyond. And I believe that this may be from the same interview, but they've got them in clips. Again, we're going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We are informing the public, educating the public about legendary aviation pioneer John Lear, the godfather of conspiracy land.
See, part of a documentary. John, perhaps you could introduce it. It deals with the 14,000 cattle mutilations that happened.
That's right, and we were particularly prevalent around Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. And it was a documentary made by Linda Moulton Howe for the CBS affiliate in Denver.
And let's take a look at that now, a piece of it.
Colorado are going to die each year from hard winters, disease, lightning strikes, predator attacks, and other natural causes. But in northeastern Colorado, another favorite spot for the mutilators, Tex Graves, former sheriff of Logan County, insists the 93 mutilated carcasses he investigated were not natural deaths.
The very first one we had was southwest of Sterling. When we first looked at it, it was just unbelievable that you could take an animal and do this too without leaving some kind of track, some kind of evidence behind, such as cigarette butts, matches, handprints.
And this, of course, is from Linda Moulton Howe's documentary, which was released around that time.
Footprints, but there was
or earlier than this interview that we're listening to for John Lear, certainly.
Nothing. The animal looked almost horrible, and it was something that I didn't really want to believe then. And there was, we probably had 5 or 6 others before I really did believe something strange was going on. We had one up north where we believed the animal was paralyzed and was alive when it was being mutilated. An eye and an ear, the tongue, the rectal area was taken out, but the animal dug a hole with its head, but none of the other parts of the body moved.
This cattle mutilation conspiracy has always sort of troubled me, because I always think, like, why would a bunch of aliens need cows' asses, right? I mean, think about it. Like, they traveled through the stars They've gone light years from their home planets and they've come here to Earth. And what do they want? They want Cal's assholes for some reason. They want the Cal asses. I don't know. Let's get back to this.
Not even the legs. 6 north of town on a very hard pasture, almost like hard brick. We found tripod marks 12 inches across. The tripod marks were 14 feet apart. We found one set that had gone in the ground roughly 8 inches. And it would take a good post hole digger or our shovel to dig in like this. It indicated something very heavy had set down.
Animals to humans yet.
Sorry, we're gonna go pay. I don't want to play 12 minutes of or
You
minutes of
agree with
that.
that?
There have been some humans. It's a very, very sensitive subject. I'm going to steer away from that. But I will tell you that since the beginning of this year, there have been over 200 animal mutilations on Long Island. It's supposedly a big secret. I know that there's 4 major law enforcement investigators working in plain clothes.
On Long Island, New York?
Sorry,
Long Island, New York.
Dimensional
We have
Babe.
an investigator working with us who's sending us videotape and keeping us informed of what's going on. So it still is a problem.
And you say it's food. That's what they're doing.
Well, food or genetic experiments, take your choice.
Now, it hasn't gone maybe to the point of where they're mutilating humans, but you do believe there are abductions. And you also believe that at one point there may have been some kind of a clash between American military forces and these UFO.
That's one of the stories when we began to discover what I call the Grand Deception. Was in 1979, and apparently there was some kind of clash. 1983 is the date that I call that we finally recognized that we had made a disastrous mistake.
And here again, we are going to see reference to an accepted part of UFO mythology, the deal brokered between the aliens and the United States government.
And that's when MJ-12 realized that they were in deep, deep trouble. They had made a deal with these people, and it had not worked out. And now the question was what to do.
You got about a minute left. What would you like to say to people out there to prepare them for it? Now, you've made allusions a couple of times when I've had you on the program that something is coming. We've heard that before, something is coming. Why do you think something is coming? What's coming? And how should we get ready for it?
There's really no way to get ready for it. The reason I think it's coming is because I have contacts within the government that tell me that they're bracing themselves for something, but they're not going to tell us about it.
Again, another one of those sort of amusing parts of listening back to this ancient interview is, disclosure's coming. I've got high-level contacts in the government, and they're telling me that everybody better get ready because there is a bomb that's dropping. This disclosure's got to come. They realize they can't keep it any longer from the American public. They're acclimating us to get ready for it. We're going to get the truth. Again, this is 1987. Does that sound familiar to anybody else that's within the sound of my voice?
George, maybe the cover-up was in our best interest, maybe not. Maybe the government underestimated the intelligence of the American people and decided we just couldn't handle it. But let me tell you this, the truth is still the truth, and nothing can change that. Not the military, not the government, and not me.
John Lear, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. See you next week with more of On the Record.
Oh, classic George Knapp. I would like to publicly ask George Knapp if he will please God, release all of this. Every bit of the John Lear interviews, not just clips. I'm sure just for history's sake that people, and for the benefit of other researchers, people would like to see them in full. I don't know if they're available in full elsewhere. If anybody has them, email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. I want to thank Al Warrior for a kind and generous $3 super chat donation to the show. Says, "What's up, Steven? I'm doing good, Al Warrior. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. Much, much appreciated." And And what can I tell you? We want to thank all the kind and generous benefactors because they help us continue the show going. And by praising the cash with us, you help keep the journey going, friends. Praise the cash.
This is Trixie at the exclusive Truth Seekers UFO desk. And I like nothing more than getting down on my knees and praising the cash. Every time you donate, I'm gonna get down on my knees and praise the cash. Praise the cash. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you for your generosity and your support of the show. People have been asking where Trixie's been at lately. She got drunk and forgot that she had a job with us here. So we're sending her to rehab and sobering her up, and then we're going to try it again. Okay? Look, what can I do? Good help is hard to find. This is what happens when you hire out-of-work strippers. Okay, so I've got more for you, and I also wanted to invite anybody who has some thoughts on John Lear to come here tonight, and we could just have a discussion. There's another famous video that's ancient that I wanted to share with you, and this one was recorded in 1989 as John Lear was out with Bob Lazar looking for those flying saucer tests in and around Area 51. I would later find out that the so-called evidence for their witnessing flying saucers was pretty weak at best. They were 12 miles away from the base, and they filmed essentially what is a light in the sky, which could be anything. But John Lear claimed that he had a Celestron telescope with him, and he honed in on the object, and sure enough, it was a saucer-shaped flying saucer, just like Bob Lazar had said. Whether you believe that or not, it's really your decision. This is John Lear and Bob Lazar at Groom Lake, and again, we're citing fair use. This is a transformative work. We are educating the public about the now departed, he passed away last week, aviation pioneer and godfather of conspiracy land, John Lear. Let's get into it, friends.
Good evening. This is John Lear, and today is March 22nd, 1989. We're standing just about 8 miles due east of Groom Lake, Nevada, the super government secret test site. And just a few minutes ago, we saw one of the government extraterrestrial UFOs fly over there. We all watched it for about 7 or 8 minutes. Right here I have my Celestron scope. It's 8 inches, and I had it focused in for about 15 seconds and saw for myself that in fact it was a disc. We're going to stay here for another couple hours here to see if we can show you folks an actual extraterrestrial flying saucer being flown by the government. So if you just stand by and looking over that mountain, which is where they are, they also come over here, which is over at Bald Mountain. There's some lights over there which you can't see, but there are a number of trucks. We don't know whether they're looking down here or what they're doing up there, but we managed to get in here. We're standing on public land. It's completely legal where we are. And if you'd like to come here later in the show, we'll tell you exactly how to get it.
You can mention who's with you, John.
We have Bob Lazar, and we have Jackie Lazar, Bob's wife, and we have
Gene Huff.
And this mission was organized tonight by Bob Lazar, who is a theoretical physicist who works at Groom Lake.
And is also a dead man. We're having this on film that he wrote.
Yeah, right. I'm happy.
You want your name on there that you're out here with the late Bob Lazar.
Well, there's a piece of history, friends. This is shortly before Bob Lazar came out with his incredible story to George Knapp. Interesting bit of history. And for those unaware, Gene Huff was the other person. It was really the three of them that pushed this story. It was John Lear, Bob Lazar, and Gene Huff. Gene Huff would later go on to write the Bob Lazar screenplay, the Hollywood screenplay, which never got picked up. And Gene Huff was also partners with Bob Lazar on selling those VHS tapes, and I believe may have been partners with him on the Testers Model Corporation, Area 51 sport model, flying saucer model money deal. Yeah. So, most famous, I believe that John Lear today especially is most famous for the Bob Lazar case and his involvement in that. But it's interesting that John Lear was around spitting conspiracies before, pretty long before Bob Lazar, and continued in his love of conspiracies and discussions about conspiracies. Besides, this has been already and a whole lot to digest of things that John Lear has said throughout his Conspiracy Land run. But later, I think he got wilder and wilder because it started out a bit more serious and grounded in, I don't think you could call it reality, but, it was a little bit more serious and grounded. Okay, the government has the secret base. Aliens have crash landed. We made these deals with the aliens, and there's a secret base where we're working on their technology, even their bodies. And there's a conspiracy to cover it up. And there's this MJ-12 group. Later, John Lear, like I said, he just got wilder and wilder. I remember, he started with this conspiracy that the moon has got 100,000 people living on it, on the dark side of the moon, of course. And that's all being covered up and kept from us. And then it was something about, maybe it was Saturn is completely and totally Earth-like and habitable and is, got a population of hundreds of thousands of human-like beings, but they are from Saturn. It gets wilder and wilder. I found a more recent interview, and I thought for the context here, we've seen the beginnings. We can see further down his rabbit hole journey through some of the more recent interviews. Let's get into it, friends.
Therein lies the problem, because people are, when you see hologram, they're thinking of a Walt Disney little pixie dancing around in a little darkness area. That's all they know about holograms. They don't know that 20 years ago, we could project a hologram with heat, noise, light, speed, anything we wanted, anywhere. And we used that on 9/11. Right now, the television industry is ready to bring out television quality programs that you could put right on your desk, and you have a little thing here. You can raise it up like this. I mean, you can enlarge it. You can bring it down to small. You can move it over there. You can move it over there, wherever you want, and it looks just like. And you can stand all around it and see from all sides. And the Japanese, a year ago, announced that not only do they have that, but they have it. They have touchy-feely 3D holograms that you can touch it. 10 years ago, they invited 30 of the top TV industrials, producers and stuff. And similar to that, they took them into a small theater that accommodated about 40 or 50 people and sat them down, and they said the future of television. A normal light like that, the lights didn't go out. And the guy comes from behind the curtain. He looked maybe well over 60, white hair, glasses. When he started talking, is obviously Eastern European with an accent. He started talking about the TV, how the tubes were initially made, the cathode ray tubes, and how it developed into this and that and so on. And as he's talking, he gets off the podium, walks up one aisle, down that aisle, looks at the audience, takes off his glasses, cleans them, walks up one aisle, down another aisle, gets back up on the podium. Everybody, by about this time, everybody's getting bored of stuff they've already heard. And he says, I want to thank you very much. And then just turned him off like that in front of everybody.
So John Lear is here apparently telling a story of a real-life technology that can project a lifelike, realistic hologram of a person that was convincing enough to fool everyone and then turned off. I'm not aware of any technology like that actually exists today, and this is supposedly technology that he saw demonstrated in the 1990s. But this is not to say that this is not the case. I believe that there is some form of government. Let's just call it a technological rift. There is a I believe that there is a huge technological rift between rich, powerful, elite ruling class and the rest of us peasants. So maybe, who knows?
It's just like what you're saying, but this is what they can do, but they can't bring it in right now because it's too close to 9/11. People are going to associate, when they were yelling at John Lear, 5 years ago saying this was possible and saying it's impossible. There has to be a screen. There has to be a background. There has to be something we can project it on. It's bullshit. They don't know what's going on or how things develop. So,
John, I'm disturbed.
What?
I mean, you.
There we go. That guy was disturbed. And here, Coast to Coast AM just posted an audio tribute, which was an interview between John Lear and George Knapp on Area 51. We'll play a little bit of that. And welcome 4x4CB, who says, hi to you all here in England. Just joined, so I'm watching from the start of Stephen's talk, 36 minutes back. Sorry to hear about John Lear. He's been part of the furniture for years. Yeah, that's how I felt he's just been in it forever, Interesting. Listen, I disagreed with him most of the time, but I don't know why. I guess because I grew up with the Bob Lazar story, I still always would tune in and listen to what he was going to say. And part of that was like, what kind of crazy stuff is John Lear talking about on this interview? Because like I said, it gets pretty wild. Like he also advocated the moon is an artificial structure conspiracy theory, as well as, structures on the moon and more. Let's see. Yeah, we're almost hitting an hour. So actually, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go on over to the live chat. Bear with me one moment while I do this. I got to go to the actual YouTube live chat to put this StreamYard invitation in. So what I'm going to do is invite anybody that would like to join the show or call in through StreamYard. And I have put the invitation to join the show in the live chat. Maybe we can have a bit of a discussion. Gufon is here and said he died again. No, that's the first time. No One's Flower said he came out with such wild stuff. Yes, he did. I'm monitoring live chat a little bit. Tody UK says it's dangerous with that mofo Richie around. Yeah, I agree with that. I think John Lear would have a crack-up laugh, and by all accounts, a fun guy to hang out with. I think that he would have a laugh with us, right? I think he would have a laugh with us. So I have put the invitation to join the show into the live chat. 1 second. Okay, I found we're going to skip the George Knapp interview because it's on Bob Lazar and the same story that we've all heard 800 times, probably. But I did find a Basis Project interview with him, with Miles Johnson, which I thought was interesting. And again, he gets pretty wild in this one. So let's get into it, friends. You're watching Truth Seekers, and we are tonight remembering aviation pioneer and conspiracy land fixture, often called the godfather of conspiracy, John Lear. This is a transformative work, and we're educating the public. This, again, is from the Basis Project. Here in his lair, part 2.
Okay, during the break, John, you referred to seeing a black shadow figure only a few minutes last night sometime. Could you mention that? Because this is important.
Well, I didn't know it was a black shadow until you just told me what they look like. But what happened is I closed the refrigerator door, and I was walking back in here, and over by the patio door, I saw a big black thing, maybe 7 feet tall, and it was black. And I looked over like that, and there was nothing there. And I just, flipped it off. And you mentioned but that's exactly what I saw, because I tried to make sense of it. I tried to look and see what made something black over there, because, you always see weird stuff around, and I couldn't see anything that would have made that black. So.
And the important thing to remember, folks, is that when you turn your head to look at it, that's when you don't see it. You only see it out of the edges of your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
So you got to look with that in mind. And this is important because
watching this interview, this is John Lear, of course, in his what people called his lair. He had this big den, and it was just filled with audio and visual equipment and files and photographs of UFOs and pictures and tape decks and VHS stuff and monitors. And it's kind of funny to see his, because I'm building a similar nightmare here, I think. I've got all these different computers and weird stuff all around me. Maybe it's just the nature of men to surround themselves with their, fun toys.
a lot of the cases in England are coming up with this, including people who make the crop circles. So maybe that might explain how you're losing stuff.
My mind?
No, you haven't lost that. You lost that years ago. Everybody lost it. We finished part one talking about aliens and stuff. What about the Bob Lazar wonderful years with George Knapp on those times? That was good fun. Tell us about that.
That was a lot of fun. Well, it all started when I gave a lecture in the early part of 1988 at the Spring Valley Library, and it created such a hoopla here in Las Vegas. People were calling me, writing me. It was driving Marilee nuts. She had never seen anything like this before, and the people were ringing the phone off the hook. But it ended up by she changed our phone numbers and took all my files and hid them and told me that I couldn't do that anymore. So this guy calls up. His name's Gene Huff, and he says, I'd like to get a copy of all your tapes and papers and everything. And I said, Gene, my wife has shut me down. I can't do it. But he says, well, no problem. He said, if you ever get a chance, I'll be happy to pay for it. Or if you want an appraisal, I'm an appraiser. And just at that time, I was looking for a second mortgage on the house, needed appraisal. So I said, okay, let's do that. For my appraisal. So he came over to do the appraisal, and he brought a guy with him to hold the end of the tape, the measuring tape, and the guy's name was Bob Lazar.
And just to interject here, so Gene Huff, who would become Bob Lazar's partner in selling the Bob Lazar story for a time, went to John Lear and he wanted copies of all his VHS tapes of UFO footage and all of his materials, his pictures. He wanted copies of the UFO pictures that John had. And interestingly, included in all of John's material was all of the Billy Meyer material. And I always found it incredibly suspect that just a few months after Gene Huff and Bob Lazar got a hold of all of John Lear's photos, including the Billy Meyer photos, suddenly Bob Lazar was working on an alien spaceship that looked exactly like Billy Meyer's beam ship.
And so they first came in and they sat down there, and Gene and I were talking about UFOs and this and that case and that case and
Oh, I see we have our first panel member there. I see you there, John. Let's bring you in here. There, John, are you there?
Commando.
Okay.
Yes, my brother.
Do you have something to add to the conversation? All right, guess not. This is the problem when you just put the live chat or just put the invitation right in the live chat. But we're going to do that again in case anybody else wants to chime in. I think some people may never have done this sort of thing and they don't really know what to say, maybe. I don't know. But once in a while we get one of those. Okay, so I'm going to put it right into the live chat. Invitation to join the live show. And the only requirement we have is no nudity, okay? No nudity. And the fact that I have to say that will tell you everything about our show here. But yeah, no nudity. You'll need a webcam and a microphone. Oh, we've got Bobby Dogstone is here. Greetings, Bobby. Hello.
Hi. How are you doing? Is there an echo going on?
Just for you, because you don't have headphones. Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I've got to cut the audio off from my StreamYard. I'm not sure how to do that, actually.
No, you probably have the show playing in the background. Don't exit out of StreamYard, but exit out of YouTube.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
I haven't seen you in a while, Bobby. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm drinking a little less now, so.
That's right. I forgot. Bobby Dogstone. Please make sure you have questions or something good to share. Yes, Bobby Dogstone is the guy who fell over drunk on our one special that we had here. So I don't know. Did you just start drinking, or have you been drinking for a while?
I've been drinking for a long time, man.
No, today. Today.
Today. Yeah, just about. Yeah, only about 2 hours ago. I'm good. So.
All right, because we're trying to get the over/under on whether you're going to fall over drunk.
No, I'm good.
You're just starting to get the load on, so you should be fine. Right?
Good.
You're going to be okay.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. But I was kind of thinking. I mean, it seems like when Bob Lazar came up, it's like, oh, here's this guy. He loves UFOs, and he's talking about all this stuff. And then they get all this stuff, so they're going to use them later, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems suspicious to me that, you look at Bob Lazar's, sport model and you look at Billy Meyer's beam ship and they look exactly alike. And here in this interview we're playing right now is John Lear talking about how he was giving all of his pictures and everything to Gene Huff just a few months before they come out with the story, And
it's Billy Meyer's
very convenient.
Are in there. Yeah.
Yes, it's very convenient.
I mean, and he's the son of the Lear Jet Corporation. That's military. I mean, also, I was kind of thinking.
And you know what else? His dad, I didn't know this until recently because I was just doing some general background on him for today. But anyway, his dad invented a whole bunch of stuff besides the Lear Jet and held all these patents. 8-track tapes. Remember 8-track tapes, those big honky 8-track tapes, and people had 8-track players?
The Lear Corporation has part of the
dad invented his dad invented the 8-track.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Kate Schneider is here. She says she missed the falling over drunk stream. So could you do it again for Kate? Come on,
I'll probably get there by the end of the night. So
No, let's try to stay professional here, Bobby Dogstone. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna put the invitation to the live chat or I'm gonna put the invitation to join the show into the live chat one more time here. If I could find it. Oh, there we go.
I mean, it's interesting the whole connection between Bob Lazar and the son of from the Lear Corporation. He seems like somebody who just loves UFOs, and he's just somebody who's like kind of fantasy, minded or oriented or whatever,
Yeah, you could tell he definitely had a passion for it. I mean, he spent so much of his time chasing these shadows,
Yeah.
and that's something that I can definitely sympathize with. I don't know, he really was all chips in on this thing, man.
I mean, in the George Knapp interview, I've seen that interview, and it's like you listen to the man, and he's like, fluid, and he's part of a family that's the military industrial corporate, complex, and he would know maybe.
Yeah.
But, you were laying out that he was.
That's one of the things that would certainly lead to his credibility. First of all, his dad invented the Lear jet, and the whole his dad is amazing, and then he's part of the family, and then here we have also that John Lear worked for the CIA for a time running flights, and he was completely respected in the world of aviation. He had all these certificates. He had flown like every kind of airplane you could fly while he was flying, like every kind of airplane.
Yeah, I mean, that's not somebody you're going to say
seems
go
very
off the deep
credible,
end like an artist or something.
And I see we have
like UFOs.
Another panel member here. We have Julian Latour, which I think your first time panel member. Welcome, Julian.
Hello, Mr. Truthseeker.
You got to echo. I guess you don't have headphones. Let me see.
Why do I have to press the thing there?
Yeah, let me see if I can just put. No echo. I have echo canceling on. Yeah, just lower your the stream that's playing back.
Oh, there we go. You're good?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it doesn't bother me too much, but it bothers the audio files here who will blast me in the comments and go, what's with all the echo? I wanted to listen, but I couldn't. And
Hey, a webcam and a built-in microphone on your laptop. That's the best. That's it, man.
Yeah. So what do you have? Julian, what's your thoughts on John Lear?
Yeah, I think this guy is kind of the foundation of all this field. As you said at the first of your show, you were like impressed by the time. You just like saying things about all those things that are still making like news today, and that field.
And it's all came from John Lear in 1987. But of course, he had his own sources, and there was other people telling similar stories.
You just kind of regurgitating what he's already heard and pressing it. Said, yeah, that's true.
Nobody ever asked him about his sources. I mean, this guy would come today, and we would be smashed down.
Citations needed.
It's like,
citations definitely needed. Yeah, but it's interesting that you're right. All of the same stories are making news and cycling back around. It's all one big time loop here. Yeah.
Nordic, everything. I mean.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure what's left in this. We can play a little bit more of this. Basis
maybe
project.
Because you got like this credibility at first. I mean, there was
because he was a credible guy. He was a really well respected guy.
I mean, he was somebody who could fly a jet. So you're not somebody. This is not somebody you wouldn't think of somebody like that as fantasy prone. He could fly a jet. He flew an airplane, but yet he's got this other part of him.
He held many speed records in the world of aviation for a while too. He was always trying to, go faster than everybody else, and he had access to that kind of jet technology before most people would have from the private sector.
I'm just wondering, maybe, I'm invoking MK Ultra here, and he was the son of somebody in the corporation. Maybe he was kind of groomed to believe this stuff. I don't know.
Or to leak this information. Yeah, a lot of people think psyop. Welcome, Lord Ludicrous Plaid is here.
Hey man,
I wonder what made him in the first time come in the field. It's probably not because George Knapp asked for him. Like, why he came and first time in the field.
Why is he doing this? That's my question.
One thing that I thought sometimes is that he was really into like this bleeding edge aviation technology, and what's more bleeding edge than alien flying devices? He was totally obsessed with flying machines. So I often thought that maybe it was a progression, like He's interested in flying machines. He's interested in the highest tech jets and rockets that we have and space planes. And it seems almost natural maybe that the progression goes to now we're going to be interested in alien technology that may already be here or may have crashed, and I want to know about it. You know?
Did you cover the part where he's talking about those not Legion on Mars, but there's like supposed to be like people?
Yeah. No, we didn't really play parts of him, but it's well known that it's well known that he has said there's 100,000 people living on the moon. There's 100,000 people living on Saturn, and
I heard it was Mars. I don't know if it was the moon. I heard
he might have been Mars too. Yeah, he was buddies with Rich Hoagland, who believed all kinds of stuff about Mars.
I remember Richard Hoagland and the 5-pointed mountains and the faces and everything, and it makes this geometrical. Yeah,
that was mostly horseshit. We all know that this is mostly horseshit now. Lord Ludacris, get in here. What do you think?
I was gonna say, well, wasn't Lear like the first one to capture the stealth bomber on camera?
I think he was one of them.
He was one of the first ones.
I don't know if he took it or if somebody got it for him or gave it to him, but he was pushing it. Yeah,
he was pushing it. He was the one pushing it in the Area 51 stuff. So I think he was the first Paul Benowitz, except he just never gave up. You know, like Paul had family and stuff to try to help. I think he just truly believed everything that he was told.
Yeah,
because he wanted to believe. You know, maybe he's seen some crazy stuff out there being tested and whatnot, and you know they gave him the Paul Benowitz treatment.
Well, maybe like Richard Doty did that one guy too. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, okay.
You know, because Lazar, this is like it's like two big balls together. It's for sure gonna create something. You know. It's like not a coincidence that those two people met somewhere, I think.
It's not. It's definitely not a coincidence.
Well, like you were telling, I mean, Bob Lazar was the contractor that held the measuring tape when George Knapp came over or whatever it was.
I think that's when the plan came together, was when those three met.
Yeah. Well, really, it was those four. It was going to be four. We have George Knapp, Bob Lazar, Gene Huff, and John Lear. I think they all worked together to push this story. George Knapp, of course, was the media end of it. Bob Lazar was the actor, pimp playing the scientist that never was.
So maybe it was orchestrated to be the perfect storm. Here we go. This John Lear guy. He loves all this. He's passionate. You know.
Did John?
They had his credibility also. I mean, he worked for the CIA and he flew cocaine for the CIA. I mean, he flew all kinds of test jets. I mean, he was a badass pilot. He used to, towards his later years, would go on these long rants about how the government was trying to kill him by not letting him get his pain medication and stuff, because he was involved in like 16 plane crashes or something crazy like that and survived all of them. It was all beat all to hell. I mean, he was beat to pieces.
I mean, so he was knee deep in that whole the military industrial psyop world and shit. I mean, so
he saw it firsthand, flying cocaine for the CIA.
That's what people said. Allegedly.
I think he said it.
I don't think he did, but let's just go with allegedly. So
allegedly,
yeah.
We said a lot of
allegedly.
things.
Julian, where are you from?
I'm from Quebec.
Quebec. Okay, I thought you were from France, but yeah, you guys up there decided speaking French was a good idea for something.
I was thinking, man. Because he said so many things right at the start of the show. Did he came before Linda Moulton Howe with this concept of cattle mutilation?
No, she was first with that.
She was first with that?
Yeah, he was just kind of running with what she was talking about because that was the big thing. That was the big cattle mutilations was the big story, and Roswell, the resurgence of Roswell in the late 80s, I believe, was the two big stories in conspiracy land.
On all those things,
crop circles.
About cattle mutilation on those shows, I think I've never heard nobody talking about bird, like bird just going down on taking meat and
birds just dying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of weird conspiracies about the bird flocks that you see will just fall, or people, You know, there'd be a whole
All of a
beach,
sudden, a bunch of
ocean
damn birds
beach.
fall out of the damn sky. How the hell did
There
that
were thousands that died recently in Mexico a few months back or so.
I think it's chemtrails myself, but
yeah,
it's the interdimensionals.
They were crisscrossing the
They're
sky the other day at my store. It was, oh man.
For those just joining us, you're watching Truth Seekers. We're doing a sort of remembering John Lear, aviation historian and godfather of conspiracy, who recently passed away. We welcome everyone who wants to come into the show tonight to come and not just watch it, not just listen, but come and actually be a part of the show. So I'm putting the invitation to join the show in the live chat. All are welcome. No nudity. Yes, I have to say that. It's ridiculous that I have to say that, but don't show up naked.
Oh my God!
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You came naked on your show.
Sorry.
Something like that. Yeah. They didn't make it. They didn't make it. They didn't make it. But let's just say, if I wasn't real, and the other thing is that wasn't fair because I have a paralyzed eye, so I'm visually impaired, and I just remember looking on the screen, and I'm like, "That's a dick. That's some dude's dick." And I'm looking at it, I'm going, and I was just about to add him to the show. And
you had something to say, man?
Somebody's, and I don't know, I don't remember because I kicked him out. I don't know if it was somebody live web with a webcam on their penis, or if it was a guy who put their picture to be a dick.
That's usually a problem you have with the Meagle chat. You shouldn't have it on the
dick.
YouTube. Yeah.
He's always man. You wonder why.
We've got some dicks that come here to our show, but one time I think we had a real dick. But yeah, so I have to say that. Please, no nudity. YouTube doesn't like it, obviously, right? I'm going to put the join the show invite in again.
Yeah, but Lear was definitely at the forefront of what we know today.
I was just amused listening to these ancient interviews going. It was like check marks, you know, like Roswell, aliens crashed at Roswell, check. We're back engineering the technology we recovered from that, check. There's aliens inside a secret base being interviewed, check, you know. The Greys, check. The Nordics, check.
I forgot about his hologram 9/11 theory. I'd completely forgot about that until you just.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, for those unaware, John Lear is the originator, I believe. I've tried to trace it.
There's stories the first. They saw
he
it.
Is the originator. John Lear is also the originator of saying that no, it was a controlled demolition, and the planes that people saw in the sky were projected holograms designed to fool us into thinking a plane hit the building when in fact it was a hologram. Have you heard
about the theory that it was like a weapon from outer space?
Energy, guided, death ray. That comes from Tesla's death ray.
Oh, who was that? Judy?
It's a Jewish space lasers is what they call
or
them.
something.
Yeah, Judy something. Yeah, I read all about that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I mean, when you watch the buildings fall, it's like, it sounds.
Looks like a controlled demolition to me, but I always held my tongue on most 9/11 because I'm no expert.
It's definitely that.
Well, who knows, you know, but it's interesting that he was involved in those conspiracies as well.
Yeah, he was.
You know?
He definitely was. And with some of the heaviest hitters.
Thanks,
today,
Six Senses. Kindly sharing the link that anybody can use to join the show. You'll need a webcam and hopefully headphones and a microphone. It's web browser based, so you don't need any software like Skype or Zoom or anything. You just click on the link that we give you, and it pulls you here into our studio where we can add you to the show. And all are welcome. Just no nudity, please. You know, the one regret that I have is that towards the end of his life, a lot of people don't know this too, but John Lear maybe was starting to get critical of Bob Lazar. And I think he felt, I can't speak for him, obviously won't try to, but I've heard there's rumors that he felt cut out of that documentary by Jeremy Corbell, like he got, you know, he should have been included or something. And then Bob Lazar's book, he ripped it apart on Facebook and said Bob Lazar didn't write this book. It had to be written by a ghostwriter or not Bob Lazar because too many of the details are completely and totally wrong. That's interesting. And, you know, I wish that he would have talked more about his thoughts on Bob Lazar, whether he still believed the story or whether he believed maybe he got hoodwinked. Who knows? You know, it just always seemed funny to me that Bob Lazar comes out with a story. Remember, John Lear is in these George Knapp interviews saying there's this secret base on Groom Lake where they're, you know, testing the aliens, testing the flying saucers, and then Bob Lazar suddenly meets him and he's working at that place. It all seems way too convenient to me, you know. But I don't know if John Lear was an active. I never understood whether John Lear was just a believing kind of person and they just used him to bolster the story because they knew he would believe it.
I think that's it.
Or he was an active participant. Who knows?
I know that Bob Lazar at first was inspired to create that story, and it was a story written by two Russian, if I recall. I forgot the source, the name of that story, but I know that people will know what I'm talking about. But he just changed the narrative there, and it's basically the same story, but he put he had more in the story, and that's why it seems like fake and real at the same time, because it was a real story at first, but Bob Lazar took it and had something more. So
yeah, and that's what we see. We see a pattern of that take accepted mythology that people already believe and then add a little bit to it for your story. You know?
I think Bob Lazar was just a con artist, but John
field.
Lear was just kind of a believer. He was
but
a
with Bob's story, the only things that were real was there was an Area 51 base and there were Janet flights.
Yeah.
The S4 was a radar shack.
Yeah, at Tonopah Test Range. Yes.
Even Chris Mellon said he was a janitor out there.
Yeah, someday I've got
as far as Bob goes. So
someday I'm going to get up off my butt and actually write out a lot of the source material that I believe that Bob Lazar used to compile or to cobble together the story, because it's out there, you know.
Yeah,
it's a patchwork. Yeah. It's a patchwork of different things, I think. Even with the movie Close Encounters.
Well, like you said,
like
I mean, they use existing mythology of ufology and just add to it and make sure it's consistent with the existing mythology and just add to it and sew more quilts on it.
Yeah, it was a tapestry of mythology and stories, and you know, and it is interesting. It reminds me of this, like, you know, what if somebody tells you a story and then you later tell it to your friends? Even if you don't mean to, you might add some bits or change it a little bit, right? You know, and then what if then your friend goes and tells the story? He may add to it a little bit in recounting it, or it's like that game you played when you were kids, you know.
Telephone.
Yeah, in the line. Yeah, that's exactly what some of this is. It's like the game of telephone when you were 10, you know.
Exactly that.
Oh, and here he is. We've sobered him up. We got him here. Sixth Senses here. I didn't think you were sober tonight, or
almost.
Yeah.
95% sober.
Hey, so far, Sixth Sense, the show's going good. Bobby Dogstone hasn't fallen over drunk
I haven't
yet.
fallen over yet. Yeah,
not one time. He has not fallen over drunk one time.
I'm stable, man.
We're gonna call him Bobby. We're gonna call him Bobby Drunkstone.
Dude, that was hilarious, though.
Perfect,
like, oh shit!
I forgot to clip that. 69. We have to find that show. I forgot to clip that.
Yeah, I got it clipped somewhere. I was meaning to upload it.
So you gotta send it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember I yelled and screamed. I'm like, great! Somebody's falling over drunk on the goddamn show, Bobby Dogstone.
I felt bad about that ever since I did. I'm like, oh, should I click? Should I click? Okay, I'm sober. I'm good. I'll click. I'm cool.
Tap it. I think we threw you out. We're like, that's it. He tapped out. Once you fall over drunk on the live show,
it's time to go to bed. It's time to go to bed. That's it.
Yo, Stephen, honestly, lately, this time in the field, let's say we go back to the telephone thing. What's happening and this field right now. Nothing. I think there is nothing for like so long.
Yeah, you're starting to get a hint of that, are you? Yeah, me
it's like
too.
we're turning in a circle and in a circle, and I wonder where is it gonna end now?
We're chasing shadows. We're chasing our tail, and nothing ever happens. At least nothing significant.
You know, I'm just wondering if the cycle hasn't made it around to us yet, you know, so it's like, you know how they do it. One passes on to the other, passes on to the other, passes on to the other, you know, it's grifter, 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 the whole line. So maybe it just didn't make it back around to us because,
I mean, there is stuff. Check out this. Ron from Cosmic Neighbors is here.
Hey, Ron.
I know him, and he's got to be sober. So I'm excited because we got at least one sober panel member tonight. And Ron, I got some good news for you. I want to thank you for the 3D printer. I tried it. I messed around with it a little bit, and I just bought a big one. Big one. Yes.
What did you get? An Ender or
Mega
Reality?
Something? I got the Mega something that can print 12-inch stuff.
Good. That's a nice size.
Yeah,
you can print out some 12-inch.
I made this guy. See the Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, cool.
I just made this one. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't ordered it yet, but I've decided I'm getting it, the bigger one.
Well, the thing is, the one I sent you, that's a mini one, and it's a non-heated bed.
Oh no, it was
a non-heated bed.
Something to learn a little bit more about it. Do I want to invest in a good one? And I appreciate that because once I played with the one you sent me, I had no trouble making the decision to invest a little bit in a good one.
Let me tell you what you can do now. Now, what you can do, because what I did I have a bunch of 3D printers.
Yeah, this is a problem I'm worried about. Everybody I know that gets into this, they've got a table with 8 of them.
This is what you should do. So take the little one I sent you, once you get the big one, and you can swap out the print head and put in a laser module so you could do laser engraving.
Oh, I would like that. Burning on wood and stuff. I would love that. We'll talk about that. What is your thoughts on John Lear and his recent passing?
Well, not for nothing. He was an icon. The thing that gets me is, there was a lot of people really disrespectful over that man because I guess his involvement or entanglement with Bob Lazar, but that guy with all his inventions and everything, he was a very impressive person. He
was a very accomplished man besides Conspiracy Land.
And you know what? Up till when he passed, last week, I didn't know that this whole time that he invented the 8-track tape.
No, that was his father, actually.
Oh, was his father? Okay. I was like, whoa.
But that's why his family was so wealthy, because his father invented multiple different kinds of technology and had patents. And so, when you have patents, you sell off the rights to manufacture your devices,
Yeah. But that's it was I was shocked, but we're all here and we're all gonna not be here at some point. But I was just listening to I don't know everybody here, but I think it was Julian was just saying, and he's so right about when you hear everybody. It's like, give them, when they hear something like they die for John Greenwald to drop a FOIA so they can talk about something for a week. Then they have to go back to Roswell, right? The Roswell that's the filler. Go back to Roswell. Then Elizondo come in and just throw one extra word in. Now that gives them another week of content. Now they can talk some more. There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, this is the problem that I have. People, they want me to cover nothing but UFOs, and I always say, I'm like, there's just not enough out there.
I cover asteroids. I do a lot of the asteroids.
Yeah, I saw you've been doing space coverage and stuff like
Richard
that.
Dolan's is going fantasy.
Yeah. No, Ron.
Well,
hey, Ron,
isn't that what he is? A fantasy? What's that, 6 cents?
I mean, see, that's if it wasn't for Steven's show, I was like, man, I really respected Richard Dolan because this guy's going back. He's a historian. He's looking this up. He's like, this is the documented. This is what it said in the newspaper. So, yeah, man, I believe him. But then when he's like, he didn't even research the DD-214 of the guy that was get back to
and then
basics.
dismissed it like
the
I'll
DD-214. I was
back
in the
out.
damn army. I got a damn DD-214.
Yeah,
Goddamn
but
it.
when he said that, I'll make a statement if and then like just dismissed it and laughed about it. And you know why? Because he knows, just like the Elizondos and all of them,
it
that
just so
their
happened
groupies are going to stick up for them and
then
stay.
the Molten Howe asked me to.
That's
And one at a time. One at a time. If one person's talking, let him finish, Bobby. Bobby's already getting into the look. Bobby, you're getting into the drunk zone already.
Basically, what it is that these guys like the Dolans and that they know no matter what they're gonna have a group that's gonna stick with them through thick and thin. So they know it'll just like it's like out of sight, out of mind. It'll just blow over, and they're gonna keep their fans. So that's why they keep doing it. If they're normal, like raw fans, they're groupies, start dropping off and saying, look, I had enough of you, you would start seeing him apologize and saying things. But until that time comes, he doesn't care. Just like that Greer. I tell you, I used to follow Greer and respected him, but yesterday I was so annoyed that he has some announcement he's going to do on Saturday. So it was set up like an interview, and this woman asked him a question, 13 seconds, and then he talks for 30 minutes. It was like he made a commercial. That's all it was. It was a commercial.
Annoying.
We're gonna. Is that this past week? I think?
It was. I just watched it last night.
I'm going to cover that. I have it on my list here. So I got about 17 emails telling me you got to see this shit.
He's supposed to
but
do
I haven't.
He's supposed to do the thing this Saturday. So if you want to do it, try to get it in the next day or so if you want. But the thing is, just pay attention in the beginning of the video.
I remember. It's the same setup. He did this once before.
I thought she was.
He had a woman come to his house that works for him, interview him, which is so hokey, but okay.
But
why don't you just go live and communicate what you want? You need to fake it that it's some kind of interview.
But Steve, I actually went back to the beginning because once I figured out it was a commercial, right? When I went back, 13 seconds. She speaks for 13 seconds, and then he just rails off. Like that.
I'm looking forward to that shit. I am going to listen to that tonight.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you were going to say something to me before.
Yeah, I had a question for you there. I mean, I'm going to assume that you're pretty adept with the 3D printing. And is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever heard of metamaterials being used to do 3D print, much like these fraudsters are doing? You know, they're saying I could build do you think that you could build a workable UFO using one of those 3D printers that's going to withstand, you know, what the extremities of whatever that.
First of all, just to
metamaterials,
the vacuum of space itself, okay, like it's no, there's no material unless there's a black op and they have some materials that I don't know about that they can use. But you have to remember what people tend to forget. Not only that is the vacuum of space, I think it's something like minus a few hundred friggin' degrees up there, like that.
Sunset and
exactly. So, I mean, there are materials that they've come up with, new filaments, but like flexible filaments that you could, like, it's very pliable and everything. They have ones that are called wood, but nothing like that, bud. No.
Okay, so given what's currently available, at least to the general consumer, because are these people any special that they can get these super meta materials? Is there anything that you can get right now, you know, commercially or even industrially, you know, through those means that could build something like that?
Not that I know, because because the thing is this, it's the extreme of space. All right.
Yeah.
Like, you have to put it this way.
Hell.
Yeah. So like, let's just use Mount Everest as an example, right? Most of these, like, let's just say for the 3D printing stuff, like we were talking about, most of the stuff that you would bring up there would crack in your hands from the cold. Like that, because all we're printing out is plastic.
Yeah, and
plastic.
I just saw, and some is better than others. I just saw a guy reviewing a 3D printer, and he was talking about the shittiest 3D printing reel or material that
It's
he
called
ever
filament.
got.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
filament.
filament. And he showed, he goes, you know what the problem with this is? And he squeezed it a little bit, and the whole thing just was so bitter or so brittle, it just fell apart in his hands.
You know what happens with filament? It's very prone to, it absorbs moisture, right? And when it absorbs moisture, it dries up and it cracks. That's why when you buy it, you want to try to use it as soon as you can. And if you're not going to use it right away, you want to make sure you put it in plastic. I put those little, I never could remember the names. You know, the little salt packs, like I forgot what they come in the shoe boxes. The little,
that stuff that keeps moisture down. Yeah.
Yes, I put it in there. And thank you. And I put it in the bags and I store it. And I've been lucky so far because it absorbs any moisture.
Yeah, it maintains the moisture.
And one thing is too, Steve, and anybody out there that's 3D prints, when you're 3D printing, try your best when you're done, unless you're going to print the very next day, do not leave the filament loaded. And then figure the next time you're going to use it,
because you get that drip,
dry up
the drip edge and the dry edge.
No, it'll dry up on you.
It
will. It'll dry up on you, and then you'll be in the middle of a print, and then you'll hear a noise. And when you go out there, your print head is just moving, but it broke off like an hour ago. You know what I mean? So,
figure this then. Given a big enough machine, obviously, 3D printer. Do you think you can even build a conventional aircraft? Never mind some super special.
I think they're going to do it.
Yes, you can. No.
I think they're going to do it soon.
Wait.
You think it's strong enough?
Aside from materials that can deal with the extreme, but like physical wise, absolutely. First of all, they're building houses with 3D printers. What they're doing is they're building them in segments.
Yeah, that's on. Yeah, I know it. That's on a very large scale. I understand that, but I mean, the detail required for an aircraft would be
there's
much more detailed.
way. There's no way. I can't see that.
We lost Bobby Dogstone. Maybe he tapped out.
Oh shit! He fell off the planet.
Bobby Dogstone.
Refill.
Well, see, that's why I'm questioning whether is it even possible? I'd love to get into that kind of stuff and
they're going to be. You can look online. There's companies that are figuring out how to 3D print houses right now.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If they can 3D print a house, they're going to figure out airplanes, helicopters, all kinds of stuff.
And like what they use a lot is like the CNC routers, right? So like I have a CNC router, and you could cut metals with that. And all that stuff. You could carve up some good stuff with that. But if you're talking about like a 3D printer that actually pulls in a material and melts it out.
Right. Yeah.
Just think about that. Right. Yeah. So my thing, when I print out, it's usually my nozzle is printing out at around 210 to 215 Celsius. All right. That's that's the print, the melt point is around 195 to 200 degrees Celsius. Now, as soon as it comes out and hits the bed, within about 3 seconds, that's rock hard already. It's dried up like that.
Okay, so that's well within parameters. I mean, that 200 ends up being, hold on.
But that's heat. That's heat, though. That's not minus.
Well, okay.
The point is, it's entirely possible that they're soon going to be able to print.
Well, I know this guy. I watch this. I watch electronic channels. That's actually what I'm subscribed to. Quite a few of them. And there is this guy that has a 3D printer, and he prints up a working, well, he calls it a steam engine. I mean, granted, look at the parameters. I mean, if it's going to melt at what's that, 100 degrees Celsius? Why can't I type that in?
Well, it depends, because here's the thing. There's different ones, Six Sense. You have like this PLA filament. That one has the melting point like that, but your remote control, like a remote control for your TV, that's printed on ABS. That's the smooth plastic. That has a higher melting point.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to John Lear, and Bobby Dogstone is back from his break.
I just had to take care of something.
Well, that's why I mentioned it, because if he can build a working motor, steam engine, obviously the
people have apparently 3D printed turbine engines.
So why couldn't you do that?
It's just that the plastic itself you could print the chassis and everything like that, but they would definitely need a coating or something to prevent it from the extremes. Like,
do you think John Lear would test fly that ship that you built on the 3D printer? I mean, look at the things that he's tried.
I think he would.
Yeah,
I think he would.
Gotta take some.
I think he would, but I mean, there's a lot that's possible with it, but raw right out of the printer, no.
Well, if there's something that I remember about him is that he tried the most crazy machines that you could ever imagine. I mean, that takes some balls, man. I mean, come on.
Well,
especially test flying.
Yeah,
like
first time. Yeah,
you're like, I'm gonna have to trust these engineers that this thing ain't gonna fall apart as soon as I get it up in the air. Like,
imagine
that's how I remember.
Imagine the person, like, of course they probably used rocks at first, but imagine the actual first person to use a parachute. Like, you talk about balls.
That's balls.
Actually, there's a tragic story about that, Ron. One of the guys, the guy who basically invented the parachute, he jumped off the Eiffel Tower to his death because it didn't open right. But later, people picked up his design and created the parachute.
The second person who tried
Groom
that
all over my
too.
story.
I know. I just jizzed all over it. Yeah.
I just kidding, but I didn't know that. But
I just wanted to say that.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, 3D printers, you could use those to make prototypes and then make molds to make metal molds.
That's what they're basically for. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm excited about. I haven't been I have not been that excited about any kind of techno toy in a decade. So thank you for. I don't know. I just always went. Everybody that I knew that had them, it was earlier on. Was like aggravated as hell by them, and I was just like, I'm going to skip that bunch of aggravation. Everybody I knew, they didn't work right. You always had to be messing with them, but now they seem much more reliable.
But
wait for the second generation to come out.
What year did they come? What year did they come out?
Well, I started. I don't know the exact year they started, but I know I started printing around 5, maybe 6 years ago. But the thing is this that you have to know. To this day, I still almost learn something new every time, because it's going to take trial and error, because it's actually an art.
Yeah, get all those settings dialed in, right?
I never knew nothing about it. I thought it was you load the filament, you find the 3D model, and you click print, and it'll print out. I didn't know there's leveling the bed, heating the bed up a certain temperature, making sure this, that, no breezes, and there's a lot to learn. But once you get it and you're dialed in, man, let me tell you, like everything, all my wiring around here, they're all my clips I printed out. Like I made these like pliable clips that all my cable management's in them. And
Ron, I just broke a pair of headphones, and I saw in the demo to the one that I want to buy that is a 12-inch printer, a guy made a headphone stand that goes on the edge of so you can make little things for yourself around the house that you need. And it's cool.
Yep.
Back to John here. We can talk about 3D printing for an hour, and I'll get bitched at. So
doing a Lou.
People living on Mars. I mean,
what was most interesting to me is these old interviews and seeing how much of Conspiracy Land came from John Lear and how little has changed. It's like people just took his stories and amplified them or added to them,
Yeah.
Well, isn't that always the case? Somebody seeds it, like the Epic Times or the, what is that? The Epic Times.
Yeah.
They'll seed it, and then everybody else from there on will go ahead and go from there. So it's got to start from somebody dropping the seed initially anyways.
I saw Corbell on Fox.
Or it
Fox
seems
News
to be.
was talking about it. That new paper that came out, 1,500 page, from the tabloid. And they were running this stuff about people getting random pregnancies from aliens and stuff.
And it's fun. It's fun to see what our $22 million got us, because apparently they're citing the National Enquirer and Penthouse Magazine as sources for the $22 million.
Did you see
they got for those reports?
Joe Rogan freaked everybody out because he tweeted out or sent an Instagram today saying I'm pregnant.
Said I'm pregnant, yeah.
And everybody
that was to where that was to where there was a rumor going around that he died. Somebody created an account that looked just like his facility account, and tweeted out that he peacefully passed away and all that stuff. So his response was, "I'm pregnant." So, which is classic. That's great.
Does he get paternity leave?
But no, I mean, they were on Fox talking about
Department of Transportation.
The radar burns, the pregnancies, the sexual miscuities, whatever, people banging aliens, all on Fox. And then they would pan to Corbell. And then at the end, Corbell, you know, like he's the authority on everything.
Since he met George Knapp, they're trying to rebuild that dynamic that they had with.
They are.
I think that's what they're doing. They're like trying to recreate, reshape that dynamic, and
he's trying to
news.
George knows he doesn't have that many years left, so he's got his protege is
exactly, man.
He's my mentor. He's my mentor. George Knapp is my mentor.
They're cashing in, right?
Now,
they're
who will
cashing
step
in
for
the
Linda
last
Moulton
time.
now?
Maybe
Who's going to replace Linda? Who's up online to replace Linda?
Oh, I have an idea, but I don't want to say.
Yeah, I know who sounds exactly like her.
There happens to be somebody that sounds exactly like her that's getting all the help in the world from all the UFO celebrities.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I know
like the legacy,
And she believes anything too. Montauk, yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Experiment, come on in. Yeah.
You know, so like I didn't get no notification, which is unusual. I usually get them, and I don't know why I didn't get them this time. But you know, I missed the whole first part of the show, and what I wanted to ask was, what do you think? You know, was John Lear's position? Because you did bring it up when I first come in. Do you think he was just like used by all these people, or was he part of that? Or
No,
maybe
I think that he had an intense and passionate interest in alternatives to reality. And all of us probably know this. It is like an escape from reality to go deep down these rabbit holes. And then, you know, if you start talking to actual government people who are telling you this stuff is true, you start feeling like you're in some secret club and you know the truth and everybody else is, you know, stupid or getting
that's pretty
there,
much what it is.
What do you think? They were doting him?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, he was the first Paul. They saw what they could do with Lear, and then they moved on and did it to.
Well, one thing I can say is that
Benowitz.
Lear and Bob Lazar put Area 51 on the map for sure. Before those two, most people didn't even know what Area 51 was. So they popularized that, the knowledge of Area 51 being this super ultra secret base, and also the idea that they have alien technology in Area 51. It all comes from John Lear and Bob Lazar.
Do you notice
The
how
whole story was seeded there.
It was seeded because of the stealth bomber, because he was trying to release the first picture of the stealth bomber. Stephen and I were talking about it a minute ago, and it was whether he took it or he got it. And I think that they went in on him, and that's what happened. He got Benowitz, but he just believed everything and ran with it and had the money to keep going.
So they dirtied his water then.
You know.
Do you notice how Corbell transitioned from Lazar to Skinwalker?
Yeah,
and
that was real
then from
quick, too.
Skinwalker, they talk about consciousness a little more. Everybody's going to consciousness. But how, like,
tell me more about consciousness.
The
About
ranch is a new thing. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, everything goes in cycles, and we'll be back. Don't worry, we'll be back to Bob Lazar soon once they manufacture some new bullshit. I mean, evidence.
When science it slaps them in the face, then they have to go to the next thing, like consciousness. Because you know that's something that science is still looking into and everything, and they don't have a definitive answer. So that keeps the rabbit hole going, because now there's no scientific answer on it. So now they'll
that's the way that I see.
Howard rejected scientists' conclusions and said, "Oh, I get another scientist that tells me what I want to hear." So there you go.
See, that's the way I look at John Lear, and I remember just him being a test pilot, and that's my strongest memories. Granted, look at that is provable physics, right? That he actually did this stuff, that this craft did this such and such a speed at such and such a G and did a turn at and
repeatable.
Know, that's all right. So that's why I'm asking, you know, I mean, how can you take somebody that has done this stuff and is dedicated to this and got nerve to even do it in the first place, you know, and do something that's actually provable, to go all of a sudden to something that's consciousness or something that's just out of this world that you can't prove at all.
Yeah, he's
or remote viewing. You gotta throw in remote viewing sometimes.
Honestly,
Maybe the
I
CIA
call
really
consciousness
messed him up.
imagination, but
they
that's
use this
just
credibility.
me. It's more simple for the people. Call it imagination. You know, you can.
It's like
about
it's like Einstein said. He says imagination is worth more than knowledge, because without imagination, how are you supposed to be able to achieve that knowledge in the first
That's
place?
how we invent things.
And it's
and
just
right,
circle.
find out.
It's a circle. Once they hit here, then they start. It comes and it keeps going around and around, and it's like these people that prolong this stuff, right? I'm gonna say, like this cat that I really could give a crap about. This what's his name? Elizondo guy, the Elizondo guy, right? So when I paid attention to him in the beginning to hear what he had to say, but then when I realized it was the same thing over and over, but then when you notice what he does is he notices that that's it. So he'll add
we'll throw something new in.
Tidbit.
A nugget. They call them nuggets.
But it's all the same. He just uses different acronym or something like that or whatever. And it makes it sound like he just added something, but he just changed the word.
Wait, what did he just tell us?
That's what he does. And the
true believers have a defense. They go, I know he said the same thing that he always says on this new interview, but there's a few nuggets in there if you listen carefully.
I respect the man, Lou. Of course, I respect the man, but he's an actor.
But I
can respect the man, but can I say that he's an actor? He's a butt actor.
But he's a bad actor, but he's an actor.
Did you see
him and his breadcrumb?
I mean, listen, did you see
breadcrumb crew? That's another one. Yeah.
Like, he's got to talk about, how's your grandmother? How's your
He was being
how's your kids?
Right, come on, Bobby Drugstone.
I'm
Bobby Drugstone. Take a drink. Take a drink.
He was being
I want to see if Bobby Drugstone is going to fall over drunk before the show is over.
Every time he speaks out of turn, he takes a drink.
We're counting on you.
I'm sorry.
I will get at least 500 extra views if you fall over drunk. Okay, not that I'm encouraging drunken behavior on my show, but
did you? I just want to finish on that guy.
Yeah, Ron, go ahead.
Go back to Korea, but you remember that show that is those three people has that guy is called Rather. There's the guy with the thin guy with the that he was he was on there a week or so ago, and I seen this clip where he's talking about that his book it's being vetted or something by the government, and he goes, well, if they say there's certain things that got to be left out, then why are they leaving that out? And that guy Rather comes out and says, yeah, but how will we know what was left out?
Yeah,
and Lou goes, next question, please.
Yeah,
here's face on like that.
Here's how this works. Trust me, dude. Trust me.
Yeah, he just put a dumb face on and went like, next question, please, like that, and they moved right on.
Yeah, this man's trying to collect data. They're all upset that hundreds of billions of dollars were wasted on radar that's being beat by modified drones from Walmart. and none of them want to be held accountable.
Dude,
they sure as hell want to get in on the cash grab for the new technology.
There's a threat narrative, of course. That's the CIA threat narrative. We need more funding. We need more funding for the threat that's in the skies. Yes, and our radar is useless, so we need $300 billion to do new sensors and radars to detect these threats.
That's another good.
If you look at that,
we got rubber ducky flying in 10 tons of fentanyl a week, and I mean, come on, but I mean, it's beat, and that's how they're using the UAP thing.
Well, think about this.
They don't want to be embarrassed.
Look at the report that they came out with. Remember that John Greenwald he released that one that was the classified version of it, that it was all redacted. He did a video on it last week. The report, whether it's the classified or the public version, just go to the very last sentence. It says it all. Says additional funding, and that's all it's about. That's in the last sentence. We
need some more money so that we can cite Penthouse Magazine as a source and the National Enquirer. This is what makes some of this stuff laughable to me, and sometimes you just gotta laugh. Like what is this? Because for years they were pumping up these base reports, and we spent $22 million. And Bigelow and his crack team, including Elizondo, they generate these reports and they studied this phenomenon. And then you get to the meat of it. Oh, they studied this phenomenon by reading Penthouse magazine articles about people banging aliens. They studied the phenomenon by reading tabloid newspapers and including tabloid newspapers in government reports that us idiot taxpayers paid them $22 million to do. Amazing.
Well, and think about it, though. Everybody making this stink. They keep bringing up the 22 million. Like, I'm sorry, yeah, taxpayer dollars, but that's nothing.
It's a drop in the bucket.
A couple of $1 trillion was lost just before 9/11, and nobody talks about that.
See, Ron, when he goes ahead and he says something like, so if they block this, then you know that this is true. That's him stuffing a joker underneath up his sleeve. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's all that is. That's like saying, just in case, it doesn't come out like
I would
planned.
ask him
always have a backup plan.
I would love to ask him one question before his book or whatever. I would love to just ask, Mr. Elizondo, do you break your NDA in your book?
Yeah. And here's the other thing. What other person gets the title of whistleblower that it doesn't want to break the NDA? Right? Like Snowden didn't go, I'm a whistleblower, but I've got an NDA, so I'm going to just dance around this shit for 3 years and then get a book deal and then get a movie deal. But I'm still dancing around my NDA. No, a real whistleblower just goes, here's what I got. This is what our government is lying to you about. Boom. And then there's consequences. The only consequences Lou Elizondo has gotten is a fatter bank account, and it's about to get fatter when all these dummies buy a book full of what I'm predicting will be nothing burgers. That's my prediction.
That's why I would ask him about his NDA.
And bet he will be involved in this new stuff with the Gillibrand Amendment. The only reason that stuff got in the bill was because it was a projected surplus. Hell, $813 billion for 2023. We're not in a freaking war. It's gone up every year. Slide in a UFO program that'll study whatever.
But now they're all whistleblowers. How are they all of a sudden whistleblowers?
Whistleblowers with no
consequences. Give them $1 billion or give them $5 billion, and then they can contract people out, and they can do data collection for drones that are flying by. I think that's UFO.
They already do that.
When you listen to him,
you got to register that.
When you listen to him, like when he did the TTSA or was doing whatever, when he's talking about ATIP, notice how he doesn't, like when he says UAP, everybody thinks UAP equals aliens. No, it just means
automatically
like an unidentified aerial friggin' object. They just named it UAP because
that's the biggest
UFO
thing.
has a big stigma on it, so they don't want to call it UFO. People think aliens.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's it.
Even with Strange Recon, he's a veteran. He was in some special stuff, and he looks at it like that. He breaks down a lot of the terminology and stuff, and how it doesn't mean that it's aliens.
Steven,
you can't just jump right to it.
I just sent you a PDF, right?
Yeah.
It's a long PDF, but go to page 64. With the whole.
You're gonna give me homework? Come on, bro.
No. Russell, with the drone swarm and all that,
he's drunk,
right? You'll see what these swarms of what they were, because in the PDF from these naval documents, remember the splashdown? You'll see what it is. It's actually quad drones.
Great splash.
Quad drones.
Yeah, I've seen this, but I will share it for the benefit.
Yeah, it's on page 64. Yeah,
I have this document. Yeah, and remember that splashdown video? People argued endlessly that no, it's got to be aliens, and this is why, and all this nonsense. And then when we get to the truth of it, what we see is quad drones. Quadcopter drones.
For real? I haven't seen or heard this. This is.
Oh yeah, that's
not surprising. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I tried to rotate.
I figured a Mylar balloon. I figured it's some kind of a balloon with propellers.
What's weird is even though they're calling it UAP now, with the grifters they're still calling it UFO no matter what, and of course that implies alien. I mean that's whenever you hear of UFO, you automatically think aliens immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody could our our young people of today think.
No, Stephen, I have a question.
What is a UAP? I don't know what a UAP is.
Well, that's what they're good at. They're good at changing names and giving new definitions to things, and that's how they confuse everybody. But that's what UAP stands for. So many different things. Because think about it: when you see this big craft in the sky, you're going to call that phenomena like that. What's phenomena about?
It could literally be anything.
When you call for your FOIA, like Freedom of Information Act something, and you ask and you wait for, let's see, I don't know, a month, week, or years, and you get it, is it gonna be like all black, fucked up?
A lot of it.
When you get like full information.
Yeah, it should be called the Freedom of What We Want You to Know About Act, because it is a castrated. Look, I got a lot of respect for John, John from the Black Vault. He spends his whole life filing these requests and getting back nothing or waiting. They tell him, well, we'll get you that, but it's going to take us 16 years. Or not. The FOIA is a largely castrated. It should be reformed.
See, even he showed that on a previous release they released the information, but on a later release they redacted it. It's like, what? You already told us here. Why are you redacting it now?
So I really am like questioning the credibility of those FOIA things. I mean,
well, I had a FOIA. By the way, two things.
Sometimes you get lucky and you can pull something out.
Stephen, I emailed you a picture and I made it the right side up, so you don't have to rotate it in case you want to show them, because before it was sideways. But I recently I submitted a FOIA in November asking the Navy, like, are you guys investigating like the leaking of these videos to Jeremy Corbell? Like, how come you guys haven't made a statement? And they answered, nope, no investigation at all into those leaked videos. The ones that the Navy confirmed were
and it would be a crime.
Navy personnel.
If those were classified, if those were classified videos, it would be a federal crime for somebody to leak them to Corbell.
Right, because only people with special access.
And of course, he's always implying, whether he says it or not, that he's getting these top secret leaks. If it was top secret, he would get arrested.
But here's the thing, like you see, like these slides, right? You see how? By the way, you see that top picture, the middle? You remember the splashdown like that? Yeah, that looked familiar to you. You see the picture on the bottom right, like all the swarms. That's what they are being swarmed with. There's a lot of tech being done with Grumman, Northrop, and all of them. They're testing all this anti-drone gear. How do you test all these anti-drone gear without drones?
Right.
You need drones, and you need. How are you going to test anti-drone swarm without a swarm of drones? How do you test that?
Oh, they've done it years ago. They used to have these like.
So wasn't just to be clear? Wasn't this splashdown video one of the Corbell drops?
Yes.
So that's another one blown to shit. We've got the pyramid UFO one. That one was blown to shit and nothing special. Now we've got the splashdown video. This is blown to shit and it was nothing special. And here's Corbell doing the UFO shuffle. I'll just forget about all that shit that I dropped and I'll drop some new shit.
And he promised that he had a lot more to drop on that.
Yeah,
and after he dropped that,
he's like a full entertainer. Like, he's on a mission. I'm an entertainer. I'm gonna show you things, and that's the deal. You know, that's the.
I can't blame him for that.
He's there
only job
doing his work.
He dropped the FLIR and the gimbal and all that stuff back in 2007 on Reddit, and those videos were up on Reddit. I don't know that he dropped them. That somebody did. Those two of those videos were old.
No, he
the
takes
three that came, the gimbal, the FLIR, and those.
He's famous for
5x5
sharing
News is here.
articles.
5x5 News is here, and I just want to mention that
I mean, he's working on something right now for sure, because we don't hear about him much lately, actually. You know? So of course he's working.
He shares
5x5 News. 5x5 News. I was supposed to connect with you, and I got busy, so it's still on my list of things to do. So I'll look over your email and get back to you.
I'll get back to you.
Frenchie had to go take a shit.
It'll be interesting. I mean,
no, Julian is French Canadian, so but I'll still call him Frenchie from now on. I mean, this is how I remember people. So we're past the 2-hour mark. If anybody has any final thoughts on John Lear, now's the time to chime in. I think we're going to wrap things up here.
Yeah, I'm going to split out. I mean, he was an icon. Let him rest in peace. Yeah. And he's a man's name that should be spoke with respect. That's it. That's all it is. Anyway, thank you. I just haven't spoke to you for a while, Steve. I'm glad that you.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you off air. I'll catch up with you off air about all that. Yeah,
everybody, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, you could throw me out, Steve.
Right.
Hey, take it easy.
All right, thank you, Ron.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Hey, I'll see you, man.
Oh, wait a minute, Bobby Dogstone. I just want to take a moment. I just want to take a moment here. I'm going to solo you.
Okay.
We're gonna take a moment to recognize. We're going to take a moment to recognize that Bobby Dogstone, he was able to hold himself up through the entire show tonight without falling over drunk.
Yeah,
big hand for Bobby Drugstone. He made it through. You made it. You made it, Bobby Drugstone. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Right?
Go ahead and keep me up, man. Hey,
sometimes all it takes is starting later. You know, start later. Don't start.
Right.
You're not allowed to start drinking 8 hours before the show because that shit doesn't work out for you when you come here like that.
It doesn't.
Okay?
It doesn't.
All right. So thank you for your participation. You have a good night. And now you can fall over drunk all you want because you're not on the show.
Now, Mr. Style, brother, I love the work you're doing, brother.
Thank you. Good night. All right. And then
we have
I just wanted to... Good to see you. Good to see you, Lord Ludicrous.
You too, man. Good to see you. Great show.
And thank you for your participation and for your contribution to the panel tonight. You have a great night.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. And we have Julian.
It's only the two of us with the same shirt, it seems. We're on the same team.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I pulled this thing out. I had a grubby shirt on and I grabbed this and I didn't even look. It's like I don't know something. I don't know.
I took it.
Must be like beat up and old. I look like a homeless man today. It's great. So I want to thank you, Frenchie. I'm going to call you Frenchie now because you're French Canadian, and you look French. But get a beret next time, Frenchie. Right? Like, no, I'm just kidding. You do look French though with the hat and everything, and you got the accent going.
Because I can fix my hair.
Oh, jeez.
I'm cursed with my hair. I just have like.
I know something about that. Somebody just gave me a Space Force hat, and I'm going to start doing that because then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but thank you for your for coming here, first time panel member. You're welcome to be a part of the show again.
Thanks a lot.
It was nice talking to you. You have a good evening.
Take care, buddy.
All right, and then there were two. The Sixth Sense chat room moderator, longtime show supporter. Thank you for jumping in here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's unfortunate that that it happened, that John Lear ended up getting caught up into this stuff. I mean, that these grifters just take advantage of somebody that did a lot for this world, not just our country, for the world. And then you got grifters going ahead and just. Either leading them astray later on in life or just taking advantage of anything that he's ever said. So that's unfortunate. And
you know what Jim Morrison once said, did you live a good life enough to make a great movie out of?
Right.
And if you think about it, if you made a movie of John Lear's life, it would be a great movie. Right. It would be an amazing movie. And I hope somebody makes that movie someday.
Probably in the works.
Because you can talk about his CIA and flying cocaine missions or whatever, the Area 51 stuff, the
That's
later
a full life,
9/11 conspiracies, and he really was the fountain, the spring that fed so much of this thing that we have today. And I'm going to miss him for that alone.
Yeah, he's done a lot, and I always remember him as the crazy pilot, the one that would just try anything. And that's how I remember him, and that's how I will remember him. So thanks a lot there, Stephen.
All right,
I'll catch y'all later there.
We're going to bounce on out of here. Thank you, Sixth Sense, for coming in tonight and for all your help moderating. He's our lead chat room moderator. Thank you, Sixth Sense. Boy, what can I say, friends? It's bittersweet, tonight. It was kind of fun to reminisce and remember. I remembered literally getting on the pre-internet, hunting for transcripts of John Lear's information or interviews. There would be these FidoNet Echo groups that would, network all over the country together and share information. And it was so much more difficult to get Conspiracy Land material back then, but we would get these text files. And in some of these text files was stories from John Lear or things that he had said on interviews. And growing up, I was into that kind of stuff. And later, Bob Lazar text files and things like that. But he was an amazing human being. I'll kind of miss that every once in a while somebody would send me a link and go, "Did you hear this interview John Lear just did?" And he was talking about something crazy like, no, there's 100,000 people living on the moon and they have a hologram projector that hides it from us or something like that. You know, it just got wilder and wilder with him. But I always admired and respected at least his passion for this stuff. He was all chips in on conspiracies, and he loved them. He was passionate about them, and he spent much of his time, including his time in retirement. That's all he did, is he sat around in that den of his theorizing about conspiracies, I suppose. And he will be sadly missed by all in the Conspiracy Land community, including me. So what else can I say, friends? I want to thank each and every one of you for joining. I also want to remind everybody that we now have memberships here on our channel. You'll see there is a right on our main page. If you go to our main channel page, you will see there is now a join button, and the join button will allow you to become a Praise the Cash member. You get loyalty badges next to your name in the comments and in the live chat. You get photos and status updates. I'm going to be doing photos of here in the studio. You get early access to new videos, member shout-outs, members-only live chats. We will be starting. You get priority reply to the comments, and I'm also going to throw in, it's not on the list of benefits, but I'm throwing in to anybody that becomes a Praise the Cash member here on YouTube, you'll get the Patreon benefits as well. Patreon is $1 a month or more, but I figured we should include those benefits so that I don't have to kind of do something for the Praise the Cash members and something different for the Patreon supporters. It'll be all one extra bonus content. I don't know. We're just going to put it all together. The Patreon benefits come with the joining our channel. You get access to extra additional membership perks. We shout out if somebody becomes a member live while we're doing a live show. We shout out that they've become a member and thank them. We do read each and every single super chat. We also read each and every single PayPal donation. And I just noticed that we have a Beyond Bright Visions sent us a kind and generous $5 PayPal donation. Happy about the Elon Musk revelations, which I think is related to our tarot card reader who answered a question somebody had about whether Elon Musk will learn to bend time and space, and the psychic intuitive tarot card reader said he already has. So I guess they're happy about that. Send us a few bucks. Yes, and 6 cents for reminding everybody they can become a Praise the Cash member. Yes, you know, it really does warm my heart. There's people all over the world throwing a couple of bucks in our hat to keep us doing this great content. A few people have asked me about yesterday's show and what happened. And honestly, it was a big mess. I asked Alien Scientist to have a talk, but he took that to mean I wanted to be a guest on his show, I think. I haven't talked to him yet about this whole situation. And so then I said, are we still on for tomorrow? This was the day before yesterday. I said, are we still on for tomorrow? I'll make the graphics and I'll put the stream up. And he said, we're good. Make the graphics. I'll share it around. So I made the graphics, and somehow he took my graphics of him being a guest on my show and he put it on his show. So there was some kind of miscommunication, but I would have thought, I don't know. And then I don't know. He didn't show up to either stream. Either my stream or his stream. I was waiting for quite some time. I think it took him an hour and a half before he showed up or tweeted something about miscommunication or something weird happened. He thought it was Pacific time zone, and I don't know. I thought he knew where I live, but we're both on East Coast. But you know, it is what it is. We'll try to reschedule it, and I'm upset about that because I have so many people asking me what I think of Salvador Payas and the recent interview with Kurt from Theories of Everything. And I have my own thoughts on the whole subject of Salvador Payas and the U.S. Navy UFO patents. However, I'm not a physicist or an engineer, and some of these advanced physics concepts I'm vaguely familiar with, but I'm no expert. So I wanted to have a physicist or somebody with a physics degree, like Jeremy, alien scientist, to translate this for me. Is this a hoax? Is this misinformation, disinformation, or is this real technology? And why are they letting it out in the form of these patents, which patents are public? If they really have this anti-gravity technology and free energy technology, why would they put it in a public patent and anybody can see, right? I don't know. I was hoping that Jeremy and I was hoping I could get some clarity after talking to Jeremy, because Jeremy can help me break down some of these advanced physics concepts in a much more educated and better way than I ever could. And I want to pick his brain and say, like, does this sound like this is working or workable technology? I have big questions about this, because to me, I don't understand how you get a patent without a working prototype. I thought you needed that, a working prototype. So my question is, where, if this technology is real and workable and you got patents for it, where is the prototypes? Can we see them? Can we have independent scientists look at them and measure them, right? I mean, I don't understand the whole story. For a time, I thought that Salvador Payas was a figment of somebody's imagination. I didn't even think the guy was real. But then I found some pictures of him. I did find some background and history on him. I checked into him a little bit and found out, yes, he's a real person. But I still thought that these patents were, quite honestly, junk. I thought that was junk science. I thought it was science fiction. But I'm no physicist, and I have to be careful in making. I don't want to research things by proclamation. I want to talk to an expert. If I am unclear on something, an expert can help me gain some clarity. So we were going to rely on alien scientists to help us do that. We'll try to reschedule, or if not him, we'll get some other physics guy, or whatever. I'm a nerd too, so that's not an insult. We'll get somebody else to look at these patents and help us try to understand it. 5x5 News is in the live chat saying you have 1 year to make the prototype. It's been 1 year since those patents were made public. I still don't see a prototype. 5x5 News. So that's where we're at. A lot of other things that I would like to talk about, but I think we're over time as well. We're in 15 minutes into overtime tonight. So I have some other things to do tonight. I want to remind our Patreon supporters that I just put up a new Patreon video for a larger piece. I'm putting it together in pieces and releasing it piece by piece on Patreon. You can become a Patreon supporter and get early access to that big report. It's called, Is This the Face of Bigfoot? Investigating the Todd Standing Story. And it's going to be a production video. I'm doing my best with it. We've got magicians, illusionists, we've got a crypto guy, a wildlife biologist, and others looking at Todd Standing's alleged Bigfoot footage and pictures, and offering their opinions. And we've got quite a lot of information in this new project, but we're putting it piece by piece on Patreon. So if you want a backstage pass, see it before it's actually totally finished and made public here on the channel, go sign up for our Patreon. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I also have another bit to that Bigfoot story, which I will be posting on Patreon later tonight. So I decided that I'm going to be giving a lot more. I'm going to be sharing a lot more things on Patreon. There's two reasons for that. The first is because you deserve it. Our Patreon here is $1 a month, but it gives me enough. And if it was my decision to make, or if I could just do this for free, I would. But every show needs some money to keep going, for equipment, for software, for bills, for whatever. I'm going to start giving a lot more to the Patreon supporters every month. Last month, we did more for Patreon than we ever did. This month, I'm going to try to top even that. I'm going to start sharing more, because generally how I do things is to put together these production videos in pieces. And then they'll sit on my hard drive until I get all the pieces done, and then I put them all together and make it public. But I'm going to start sharing every piece to Patreon. So it will be a really good way to see how things come together piece by piece. If you're that interested in what we do here, I appreciate it. And the Patreon money really is what pays our bills. I pay for our StreamYard, our Google Drive with it, our Spreaker charge every month. Whatever it is that we need generally comes out of the Patreon. So we do appreciate your support. Carolyn Barnett is here, says, I'm a Patreon supporter. I will support any way I can. Well, we now have memberships, but if you're already a Patreon supporter, you'll see right on our channel now there's a join button, and there's some benefits for that are over and above the Patreon benefits. And we shout out when somebody becomes a member. And everybody will know when you're a member of the show here, because it will show in the live chat when you're here that you're a member, and in the comments. And thanks, we've already had a bunch of people sign up for memberships. I was surprised, especially because there's generally no benefits there yet, but there will be. So that's where we're at. The show continues to grow, and I'm thankful for another stream of revenue. Every buck helps. It all goes in the same pot. Oh, more good news. I think I've done my taxes. Well, I think my wife's done my taxes. I had to do some of it. So for anybody that doesn't know, if you have a small business, tax time is a nightmare. I'm like going through stuff, trying to figure out what's this charge on my card? Was that business related or was that personal? And well, now I'm actually pretty organized thanks to my wife, and most everything that goes on the business card here is, expensive. Like if I go buy a pair of headphones or whatever. But anyway, tax time is a nightmare. I have to put together every penny that I spent for an entire year that's business related. And remember, it's not just this I do. I have other things that the business does. I never intended this company that I formed. It's called Spectral International. I never intended it to be a media company primarily. I intended it 20% slice of what the company did would be producing media, like this show. But then the pandemic hit and all other sources of revenue went to shit. So we adapted and overcame and started doing more of the content production side. And I have to say, I'm enjoying my time working on the business a lot more now. And it's been so far pretty successful making that, adapting like that. Now there's nothing to say that I won't go back to other things and slack off on this for a while. But right now, I'm very pleased at the growth here, and we're going to continue to be what is now primarily a media production company. But I still have a few irons in the fire, right? Yes, Carolyn Barnett. I do, but my wife is a stickler. Carolyn Barnett is asking, you ever think about paying someone to do it for you? I can only imagine what a nightmare it is. Yes, but you still have to give the person doing it all your expenses, all your income. And my wife is a payroll accountant, but so she's a stickler with the spreadsheet and the dates and the time, and my head's spinning because I'm like, I don't want to get in an argument with my wife over what was that $1.99 purchase at Walmart that you're saying is business? I don't know. I think I needed push pins. Can I buy some push pins? Is that a write-off? I don't know. I'm not good at any of this. So I basically, Carolyn Burnett, I put all the expenses and I put all the income, and then she figures out the rest, and then she takes it to somebody that files it, and yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at. And remember too that I spent 20 years in cubicle land doing accounting work. So when I have to do that stuff again, I start having like PTSD. I start having bad flashbacks, being stuck in cubicles for 10 hours a day with spreadsheets and shit. And I get upset. I do. I literally get, I don't want to see. So anyway, I think we're done with the taxes, and it's only the 6th. We have until the 15th to file it all. So I think we're good. So that's very good news. So what else can I say? I want to thank you all for joining us here. And you know, I want to encourage you to take a moment, if you've been here, especially if you've been here in Conspiracy Land for a long time, and to take a moment, say a prayer if you're the praying type, or, you know, I don't know, meditate, send them some nice vibes. If you're the praying type, say a prayer for John Lear and thank him for what he brought us. Thank him for his interest. Thank him for his passion on this subject, and wish him well on his journey. I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to take a moment to have a moment of silence, raise my glass, and wish him well on his journey. There's a famous story. This is what I should close with. There is a famous story of John Lear talking to Art Bell. Now, Art Bell didn't get freaked out very often, but apparently John Lear told him that when you die, you shouldn't go into the light, because that is a soul recycling machine on the moon. That's what you're seeing. You're supposed to go away from the light. Otherwise, you're going to get caught in this endless cycle of birth and rebirth. And Art Bell was very freaked out by that concept or that idea, apparently. I'm not sure if that's true. Don't go into the light. I'm not sure if John Lear remembered to not go into the light. I'm not sure if John Lear did go into the light, but wherever he is, I hope that he got all the answers to these really enduring mysteries that he always was spending his time and his energy and his passion and his life looking for. I hope he gets every answer, and I hope he is at peace and happy. That's all I got for you, friends. So I'm always happy when there's an audience. Thanks for coming here tonight and being a part of mine. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, especially you, John Lear. You'll be missed.